Next question.
Next question, boy.
This question is from an Army vet that was in Ramadi in 2004.
Yep. He noted that to me.
Yeah.
Which is good to hear.
Yeah. Some
Thanks
context
for your
and,
service.
respect. Yeah. Just started jiu-jitsu. Boom. I'm a very step action drill oriented guy. I blame the field artillery officer basic course. Today, while training, an instructor was talking to me about the flow and creativity and improvisation that is needed. I'm assuming it comes with time. Any ideas on helping to get that way? Any ideas on helping to get away from the step action drill mindset, or just let it come? Or do you just let it come?
Yeah, that's great. And I know you've seen people like this in the jiu-jitsu. Yeah. I see them all the time. It's people that have the personality that is like an engineer personality. Okay, what do I do? Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. What? You tell me the steps. Bro, quit all this conceptual stuff. Tell me the steps to do. And actually, Jeff Higgs, he was describing a guy that we train with, and the way he described this scenario, he was talking about this specific guy who kind of fits this mold, and this guy was coming to train with us and going to be one of our students, and Higgs goes, yeah, he's really good, he's got, he trains super hard, he's strong, and he's got a very stubborn jiu-jitsu mind, which I got a kick out of, and it's true, but it's this kind of thing where you just want to know the steps and you just want to apply them. And by the way, if you want to teach about options, tell me what the options are then. Right. Option 1, 1A, 1B, 1C, they want to have that mindset for everything. So that stops you, right? We want to get beyond that. We want to get to, it's just like a person playing a musical instrument. Yeah. You can teach them all the notes, but they need to figure out how to play music, right? They need to figure out how to create music. That's the difference. I always say this when, if you go to a Guitar Center, which is a guitar store in America, and you put up a sign that says, I need someone that can play the following 27 albums note for note. You'll get 100 phone calls if you put a website that said that, because you're going to record an album or whatever. But of all those people, not all of them can create a musical song that is original and good and all that. So there's the difference, right? This is the difference between like a normal jiu-jitsu player who's by the book and then, a person that creates, the top level guys that are creating new moves all the time. So that's what we want to become. And it's not just to be a top level guy. It's also how you improve. It's how you get better. You got to figure out how to put the notes of jiu-jitsu together. So, and on top of that, it's the same thing with combat. It's the same thing with doing an assault. It's the same thing with an immediate action drill. It's the same thing with moving down a hallway. If all you know and all you can do in your brain is follow the steps and follow the standard operating procedures, as much as I talk about standard operating procedures being necessary and mandatory, if all you know how to do is follow them, you will fall short. And you will come into a situation where they're not going to work, and now you're going to be done. You're going to stop. You're not going to know what to do. That happens in jiu-jitsu all the time. So we need to free our mind. That's what we need to do. We need to free your mind. And how do you do that? Well, first of all, discipline equals freedom. So we want to have the discipline, which means we do need to drill the moves. It means we do need to learn the moves. It means we do need to repeat them over and over again so that we get good at them. We do need to do that. But then we've got to set the mind free. And how do you do that? I mean, go outside your comfort zone, for one. And a lot of guys, everyone does this, where you say, you know what, man, I'm getting everyone in this one move. I'm going to stop doing it. I'm going to do another move. I'm not going to guillotine anyone for 2 months. I'm not going to
unless you're Echo, then you might.
Then I'll guillotine you. So go outside your comfort zone. Work on some move that you don't do. Throw out your best submission and don't use it. So now you got to be going through all these different. We got to go for different moves. You got to get creative. Same thing with hitting your move from different positions that aren't supposed to work. That's like. For instance, you just talked about the guillotine. I'm a fan of the guillotine, but I do guillotines in weird places. I mean, I have people tap out to my guillotine when when we're in weird positions that no one's ever been tapped out, and they're like, I don't know how I just got tapped out. How did you do that?
Yeah.
How did you I was, across the side, and I was, yeah, you were, but I had this going on. So try your moves from different positions, random positions. Try things that shouldn't work too. Right? Try a move that's a top move, try it from the bottom. Yeah. Try a move that's a move from the bottom, try it from the top. Try it from the side. Try it from cross side. Try it from butterfly guard. Try these different moves, and you'll start to create more. The other thing that will free your mind is when you stop worrying about tapping people out and getting tapped out.
Yeah.
Worry about progress. Worry about creativity. Try and be more creative. And if all you're worried about is not tapping out, your progress is going to be slow. And if all you're worried about is tapping the other guy out, your progress is going to be slow.
Yeah.
If all you're worried about is losing, your progress is going to be slow. So that's it. And actually, one more thing. I would say there's a kind of a dichotomy here. In the one side, you want to be able to turn your brain completely off and just do whatever happens. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, you want to force your mind to make yourself do particular moves. Right? So go in one of those. If you're going to think about new moves, or turn your brain completely off and let things happen as they come.
Yeah. And then
free your mind.
The whole turning your brain off and letting the moves it's almost like you're letting the move happen on its own kind of thing. That it comes with time more and more. You know, like when you first start, that's probably not really going to happen much.
Yeah. And also, like, an example of that is if you were teaching a class and you said, hey, Jocko, come here and, I'm going to do this sweep on you. And you do the sweep, and I would defend it immediately. Mm-hmm. And I go, oh, sorry, man. And I'd have to sit there and not defend the move so that you could show the sweep. Yeah. Right? You see what I'm saying? It's a complete instinct for me to stop that move, or it's a complete instinct for me to grab your hand or stop, so that's the way it works. You want that. You want it to be an instinct. You want all your moves to be instinctual. Yeah. Because if you have to think about them in real situations, if the other person is good, and you have to think about what you're going to do, you're going to lose. Yeah. Because they're not thinking. They're getting that quarter second. It takes a quarter second to process. Right? When we used to, when shooting pistols, it takes a quarter second for you to see the target, a quarter second to get to your holster, and a quarter second to get the gun out and get the shot out. That's 3/4 of a second. Yeah. So if all you had to do was just draw and shoot, a quarter second's gone. Or if you have the gun in your hand, a quarter second's gone. So actually, Greg Train did that the other day, and I thought about that. That's why this is fresh in my mind. Like, he grabbed my hand real quick, and I was like, oh, he did that sort of like I used to go for my holster, because you can go as fast as you possibly can to your holster. Once you get to your holster, you got to slow down. Yeah. But you can go so fast to your holster. That's where I used to make up so much, as fast as I could to my holster, and then once you get there, you got to slow down. You got to get front side focus. But Greg Train moved that fast trying to grab my hand like that, and I was like, I'm gonna start doing that. I'm gonna start doing that again, doing a little speed work on him. So, free your mind. Back to the point here, and thanks for your service.
Yeah, that way of learning, I think it's actually pretty prevalent when you first start, because you don't know the move, you don't know why it works. You know that it works because your teacher's teaching it to you, but you don't know why it works. So it's like, all right, just show me, tell me the steps to do it. Right. You walk through it. You learn another move. You learn this move. You learn, he refines your technique. You go roll. You find out, okay, that doesn't work when I do it this way. Or you don't know why it doesn't work, so you got to ask a question.
Yeah. And I'm the kind of learner that I actually, the first thing I want to know is, how does this work? Yeah. I want to know that before I know even the steps. Yeah. And a lot of times I teach that way. I'm teaching, here's the concept of what we're trying to make happen. Yeah. We're trying to get their weight over here. So here's how we're going to get their weight over there. Yeah. Now, once we get their weight over there, then it's easy to say, hey, now all you need to do is slip your hips here and you're going to be on their back, or whatever the case may be. Yeah. But for me, the concept of what you're trying to make happen is what I like to think about, and it's what I like to teach. And that's the same thing with combat. There's moves that you're going to do on the battlefield, but conceptually, what are you trying to make happen? Cover and move is the most simple one. You can cover and move an infinite number of ways. But if you don't cover and move, you're going to die. And as long as you have one of those millions of different ways of covering and moving, and some guys would get really particular when I was running training, guys would be like, hey, you can't do that. And I would say, well, what did they do that you didn't like? Well, he should have moved first. Well, did the other guy cover him? Well, yeah. Well, why should the other guy have gone first? Well, that's the way we taught him. Okay, well, does it make sense? Can you give me a reason? Not really. Are they covering and moving? Yes. All right. I think they're good. Yeah, you're right. They probably are. So.
Yeah. That's it goes along too very much. It seems like anyway, what you're saying about telling people why they're doing what they're doing.
Yes.
So it's essentially the same thing.
In jiu-jitsu, you're right, because if you just say grab their arm and pull it into your, neck so you can sweep them. But what you really want to tell them is like, listen, they're going to put their hand out here for base, for balance. Yep. So what you want to do is you want to be ready to move it, and you only have to you only have to take their base away for a quarter second. I say that a lot. Like people in jiu-jitsu, they try and move, they try and affect the other person's body for an extended period of time. For 10 seconds. For 12 seconds. They try and bring the hand into them so they can sweep them, and they hold it there for 5 seconds. I'm going to hold it for a quarter second because that's all it takes for a sweep to happen. That's all it takes for an arm lock to happen. That's all it takes for a guillotine to happen is that 1 quarter second. It's a quarter second is all you're trying to do. And once you are winning quarter second, now you're won.
Yeah. Yep. But again, I do feel like that it's probably, I would imagine anyway, it's a spectrum with learning jiu-jitsu. Like, you know how you say some guys, they just tend to learn that way?
Yes.
And then some guys tend to learn the other way. And it's a spectrum.
Yeah, both ways is fine.
And I think in the beginning, I know it was for me and most people that I've seen, in the beginning, you tend to learn that way. Show me the steps. You don't know everything. You don't know the whole of jiu-jitsu, So
and even me, I'm probably pretty far on the extreme spectrum of let me understand the concept.
Yeah. And plus you're advanced though. I think.
No, but I'm talking about when I was beginning.
Oh, okay.
In the beginning, even I was like, okay, well, how is this working?
Yeah.
I wasn't like, show me how to do that. I was thinking, how did that happen?
Right.
Why am I tapping right now? How can I not move? That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I wasn't thinking, show me the movement. I was thinking, what is going on?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And there's actually high level guys you can tell by the way that they teach or the way that they by the way that they teach or train. You can tell that there's high level guys on both sides. There's high level guys that are like for instance, guys that drill all the time.
Right.
Those are the guys that are mechanical. Nothing wrong with it. They win world championships with that.
Yeah.
And then there's guys that don't drill, but they roll like crazy. Right. And their games will reflect that. Jeff Glover, Dean Lister, same thing. You don't see those guys doing a lot of drilling. It's not that they never do it, but if you compare them to, let's say, who's a world champion? Even Galvao. Yeah. Galvao's a driller. He just will drill. And at least from what I've seen, I've seen of, videos of him training, he's working a move. And you're like, okay, that's awesome. Guys dominates. Fantastic jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, and I think at the end when you become that good, even if that's your primarily method of learning or training or whatever, I think when you gain ultimately like the understanding of, okay, I see why this is important to do this or important not to do this, whatever. Even if you are a quote unquote driller, the creativity part is, it's almost like it's uncontainable. It'll always like Galvao where they do drill a lot.
Maybe I wasn't thinking. Who made the DVD that was literally called Drill to Win? It was like somebody that's really good made a Drill to Win, right? So that's the kind of attitude I'm talking about. Again, that's how you get better.
Right.
Drilling.
Right.
And what the thing is to respond to what you just said is fact. Discipline equals freedom. If you drill and you make those moves so natural, then you're going to hit them from all over the place.
Yep.
So you're right. The end state is going to be the same. Mm-hmm. But there's going to be people on all ends of that learning spectrum and training spectrum. Yeah. They're going to be all over the place.
Yeah.
And some people like I don't like to drill. Yeah. Don't enjoy it. Mm-hmm. Maybe I did at some point. Don't remember. Mm-hmm. But I would rather roll.
Yeah. I think a lot of... when in the beginning, it seems like what kind of learner you are is going to show itself way more.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Just as far as even preference and how you pick things up, and a lot goes with the fact that there's a lot to pick up when you begin. You stop. There's so much to learn, so you're like,
well, you absolutely have to drill. I mean, I hope no one's listening to me going, well, Jocko just rolls. Yes. No, you have to drill when you start off. You have to. Yeah. You have to learn the body mechanics of it.
Yep.
So, yes, I am talking about a more advanced stage.
Yeah. And I think ultimately, just like how you said, though, I think that in time, once you start learning the moves, and as given the fact that you are rolling, though, you know how some people, they'll learn the move, then they'll go home?
Oh, yeah.
It's rare, but when you learn whatever, this guard pass to the armbar combo, right? And you know the steps, and grab here, put your knee here, whatever. The guy's your training partner, your partner for the drill or whatever is, he's letting you do it.
You become a 10 out of 10 in the drill. You get so good at that drill, you're 10 out of 10. When you go to apply it for real, you're still going to fail.
Yes, exactly right. Because you don't know all these dynamic variables coming at you. So that's when you gain the understanding.
Yes.
That's when more questions are going to pop up. Okay, that need to be answered. You answer them and boom, there's your learning right there. So the drill is good, for the body mechanics, especially at the beginning, because you don't know. You're talking about all your hands, arms, legs, hips, head, everything, arm position.
Well, what's even more critical than those things, because all those things are visible, you can see them. The things that are harder to teach and to understand is the weight distribution and the balance distribution. Those are the things that you cannot see. And there's also one more, which is the tension distribution. Because when I'm pulling on your arm, when I grab your wrist, when I'm holding your wrist, I could be putting tension in 360 degrees, right? If I'm holding your wrist, I could be moving it. I could be putting tension. Now, no one could tell which way I'm pushing or pulling or lifting or dragging. No one can tell because your arm isn't moving.
Right.
But the tension, you can't see. The balance, you can't see. And the weight distribution, you can't see any of those things. And that's why it's very hard to teach them.
Yeah. Yeah, and really the only way, and again, back to this thing, it comes with time, is when you roll live with someone, then you're going to see all these different scenarios where the stuff you learned.
Dean was teaching an arm lock the other day, like a basic arm lock, which I've probably sat there in the class of his and been his dummy 1,000 times. Mm-hmm. And like somebody asked a question, and then he was doing the arm lock to me. And I realized something that he was doing that I never noticed before. And he's pulling the arm towards his head, basically.
Like pulling it
towards his head. Yeah. And I mean, in a pretty extreme way. Mm-hmm. And I realized how incredibly effective it was. It wasn't holding it. He's pulling it. It was, and so like those little things like that, I've been his dummy, and maybe, just because I was being his dummy, he didn't remember or didn't think about doing that step. But the way the question got asked, and even when he's arm locked me thousands of times, I didn't notice it. I just thought, man, he's got a tight arm lock.
Right.
But it's like, okay, that was the detail. And you could watch him do that move to me 1,000 times, or anyone else 1,000 times. Then you wouldn't be able to know that detail unless either he told it to you or you felt it. And that's the thing that's crazy about jiu-jitsu. There's all kinds of little aspects like that. Yeah. Balance, weight, and tension that you just can't see visually. You can feel them. Yeah. But even if I say, hey, Echo, actually you can't feel all of it, because you can't feel where I'm putting my weight if I'm putting my weight into the mat. You can't feel if I'm heavy over here.
Right.
You can't feel that. You don't know where I'm heavy. You just know what I feel heavy, but where's my weight going to be? Now, if my weight is on you, you can feel it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man.
That's the jiu-jitsu.
That's the jiu-jitsu.
All right. Before we have just a jiu-jitsu podcast.
Yeah.